going down into the sajdah on the hands.
So this is all of it underneath the what? The sujood. All of it underneath the sujood. Right.
He sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to place his hands on the ground before his knees.
Right. He used to place his hands on the ground before his knees. Would you like to tell me if there is a footnote that we need to read?
Okay, next one. This one just references.
You sure? There's a reference. There's Al-Imam Al-Awza'i, he said, I have seen the people, they put in their hands before their knees. No, in that footnote?
And this one.
Yes. Go on.
So,
I'll just read the Imam Al-Awza'i.
After the references,
it was narrated, Al-Mirwazi in his Masail,
saying, I found the people placing their hands before their knees.
Okay. Right, now this is one hadith, which is, it says, that is, كان يضع يديه على الأرض قبل ركبتيه. Right. Now go to the second one.
He sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to instruct likewise, saying, when one of you performs sajdah, he should not kneel like a camel, but should place his hands before his knees.
Arabic, إذا سجد أحدكم فلا يبرك كما يبرك البعير وليضع يديه قبل ركبتيه. Give me the footnotes. A long one, I think.
Yeah. Abu Dawood,
Tamam al-Fawaid.
And Nasai in Sunan al-Sughra and Sunan al-Kubra with Sahih Isnad. Abdul Haq declares it Sahih in Al-Ahkam and went on to say in Kitab al-Tahajjud, it is a sounder isnad than the previous one. That is the hadith of Wa'il, which is the other way around, knees before hands. In fact,
I'll tell you later on, inshallah, there's a hadith which says that he put the knees before the hands, and that hadith is unauthentic, as we're going to see, inshallah. So he says,
in fact, the latter hadith, as well as being contradictory to the Sahih hadith and the preceding one, is neither authentic in isnad nor in meaning, as I have explained in Silsila
Al-Da'ifa 929 and Al-Irwa 357. Now, go ahead.
It should be known that the way to differ from the camel is...
This is very important to understand that. Okay.
It should be known that the way to differ from the camel is to place the hands before the knees, because the camel places its knees first. A camel's knees are in its forelegs, as defined in Lisan al-Arab.
Forelegs is what I mean? The front. In Arabic it says fi yaday, which is the four legs, because there's no hands for a camel, is there? Camel's got 4 legs, isn't it? We say camel's 4 legs. We don't say it. Have you ever seen a camel saying Assalamu alaikum like that with his hand? Got 4 legs. He doesn't have a hand and 2 legs, he walks on it. Got 4 legs. So he says here that his knees are in the front legs of his. In the Arabic, وَهُمَا فِي يَدَيْ. Now.
And the other books of Arabic language.
Lisan al-Arab, Kutub al-Lugha, Taj al-Arus and others as well. Now.
Also, Imam Qasim al-Saraqasti, rahimahullah.
Saraqasti, and also Tahawi Mushkil al-Athar, Sharh al-Ma'ani. Also, he reiterated in Gharib al-Hadith, go on, with the authentic chain, Abu Hurairah.
Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu's statement, no one should kneel the way a runaway camel does. And then added, this is in Sajdah. He is saying that one should not throw oneself down as a runaway or untamed camel does, hurriedly and without calmness, but he should go down calmly, placing his hands first, followed by his knees, and an explanatory marfu' hadith has been narrated in this regard. He then mentioned above.
Right, so we're up to here. Now I'm going to explain to you exactly the way I explained to you how you put the right on the left is bid'ah. It's not from the sunnah after the ruku'. I'm going to explain this to you until you understand which is the right way to put the knees first or to start with the hands. And you can inshallah clarify in a minute. But let's just go to what Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullah, he is the reason for our shuyukh like Sheikh Ibn Baz or Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, where they say you go into your knees first before you go into your hands. Go ahead.
As for Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah's extremely strange statement, these words are incomprehensible and not understood by the experts of the language. It is answered by the sources which we have mentioned and also many others which can be consulted. I have also expanded on this in the refutation against Sheikh Tuwaijiri, which may be published.
Right, it is being published. Now let's just go to the hadith regarding putting the hands or the knees first. Okay, this is now Abdullah ibn Umar, which hadith Ibn Khuzaymah narrates. That is, he used to put his hands on the floor, on the ground, قبل ركبتيه, before his knees. Shaykh al-Albani, he says, there are some ahadith which oppose this hadith, and I would like to narrate them in order to make sure that this person who is not knowledgeable, not to be deceived by them. لئلا يغتر بها من لا علم عنده. The one who's got no knowledge. First one, رأيت عن وائل بن حجر. I have seen that. This is the Wa'il ibn Hujr hadith. You remember? He said Wa'il ibn Hujr. Wa'il ibn Hujr. I have seen the Prophet ﷺ, if he prostrates, he would put his knees before his hands. And when he goes up, he would lift up his hands before his knees. Narrated by Abu Dawud, Nasa'i, Tirmidhi, and Tirmidhi says it's Hasan. Shaykh al-Albani, after a long discussion, he shows that this hadith, it is da'if in its chain. It is sanad da'if. Second hadith. So the first one is in Abu Dawud, which is Wa'il ibn Hujr. Because Wa'il ibn Hujr, he's got two narrations. One narration says he's to put the what? The hands before the knees. This one, which is unauthentic, as I said. Second one. And Anas, I have seen the Prophet of Allah. He went down with takbir, his knees preceded his hands. سبقت ركبتاه يديه. Ad-Daraqutni, and the hadith is not authentic. Shaykh al-Albani said, even if it is authentic, there is not a clear indication that the knees went on the floor. It says here that the knees preceded the hands. That means maybe in the movement. But which one had reached the floor first, that hadith is not clear cut to talk about that the knees went onto the floor. You understand that? This hadith says that the knees preceded the hands. They could be preceding them each other by the what? By the movement. They mean started with the knees to move and then he moved the hands. But which one had reached the floor first? It doesn't talk about it. But this hadith, if it is authentic, it is not authentic. And this is what Ibn Hazm rahmatullahi alayhi as well supported. Third one, Abu Hurairah. Write down just the narrator, that you could understand. Abu Hurairah's hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ used to, when he makes sujood, he would start with his knees before his hands. Al-Tahawi, and this hadith with consensus, ضعيف جدا. Very weak. The fourth one and the last one, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He used to say that we used to put our hands before the knees, then we'd be commanded to put the knees before the hands. Unauthentic. Al-Hazimi, he says, great scholar, he said the knowledgeable people had differed regarding this issue. Some of them, they went to put the hands before the knees, and they said this is right. And this is what Malik and Al-Awza'i. And he said, I have, Awza'i, seen the people putting the hands before the knees, which you have in your book here. But others had differed, and they said, the knees first before the hands. And some, he says, one of them is Umar ibn Khattab, and also Sufyan al-Thawri, and al-Shafi'i, al-Imam Ahmad, and Ishaq, wa Abu Hanifa, and his companions. Shaykh al-Albani says, the reason that those Shafi'i, Ahmad, Ishaq, Abu Hanifa had said that is what we have narrated just before the four hadiths. I'm going to narrate it again. Wa'il ibn Hujr, we said, Anas, Abu Hurairah, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Those ahadith, it was for them the reason they have said that. And if it was authentic, we would have said you could do both, which is putting the knees first or putting the hands first, which is one of the riwayah of Imam Malik and also one of the riwayah of Imam Ahmad. They said you could do both. But because it is not authentic, then we will go to the ones who said that the hands first, because the ahadith regarding this issue is clear cut. Now, this is being narrated by Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullah. Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullah. This hadith, which is the hadith of Abu Hurairah, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, if one of you is to prostrate, then this is the hadith which is sahih. Let him not to imitate the what? The camel. Let him put his hands before his knees. فَلْيَضَعْ يَدَيْهِ قَبْلَ رُكْبَتَيْهِ وَلَا يَبْرُكُ بُرُوكَ الْبَعِيرِ. As what is Tahawi and al-Bayhaqi has narrated as in Zad of Abu Hurairah, which is the other way around. If one of you to prostrate, let him start with his knees before his hands, and let him not to imitate the camel. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, he said, just like Al-Bayhaqi, da'if, unauthentic. Shaykh Al-Bayhaqi said, no, it's not da'if, even very weak, da'if jiddan. Why? Because Abdullah ibn Sa'id, he is al-Maqburi, and he's well known to be a person who's been abandoned when there is a narration regarding al-Maqburi. And some of them, they said that he is a liar. And that is why he had deliberately maybe had made the hadith the other way around. So this hadith is an authentic, very weak. Now it is not really, I'm being astounded or being sort of astonished or what is, or this person is to be a liar, but I'm astonished what Ibn al-Qayyim had said in the Zad. So he says that the hadith of Abu Hurairah, which where he says that the knees goes first, is the Sahih. And the other one, where it says the hands goes first, he says that this is maybe somebody from the narrators had got it the other way round. And he made a mistake. And he should have said the knees first before the hands. Are you following me or not? Okay. Just like the Maqburi, he said. So he had taken this madhab. Why? Because for him, the hadith cannot go with the ma'qul, cannot be rational. Because the end of it contradicts the beginning of it. What is the end of it? And let him not to imitate the what? The camel. But this is according to what Ibn al-Qayyim imagines, which is that, you know when the camel, you know you're not Bedouins, I know what I'm going to tell you, when the camel goes down, whether he's running or he wants to kneel down, that's got 4 legs. Which one goes first? The front ones or the... Have you seen them or not? Which one goes first? The front one or the back ones? Front one, they're not a Bedouin. The front one goes. Then the back. So he parks, chick, and then the one at the back. Right. So those are the ones who said, do not imitate the camel. They said, if you go with your hands, which is your front ones, you haven't got 4 legs, have you? You've got 2 hands and 2 legs. You've got 2 hands and 2 legs. So if you go with the front ones, which is your hands, that means you're imitating the what? The camel. But the Prophet of Allah, he said, let him put his what? Hands and do not go down with like the camel, because the camel goes with what? With his knees. He didn't say with his hands. It is what? Knees. And the knees of the camel are in the front ones. So what are the ones which are called at the back? We're going to come to that. There is 4 legs. The knees in the front, because all the time the person goes with what? The camel goes with his knees. It's the strongest part in the camel, or with his knees. So what are the back ones called? Let me just tell you in a minute. Qadi says that Ibn al-Qayyim had adopted this because for him, he cannot imagine that the person not imitating the camel if he goes down with his knees. But if he goes with his hand, he will be imitating the camel. Because of what he says. And then he says, Kalamun la yurqa, Ibn al-Qayyim. It's not really right. And Lugha, people of that language, they don't know it. And actually we have just seen that the people of the Lugha, the scholars of the language, they have actually confirmed that the knees of any 4-legged animal is in the front legs. Do you understand that? Any 4-legged animals, أي حيوان يمشي على 4 وركبه في مقدمتيه في قدميه أو يديه الأماميتين. واضح؟ أي حيوان يمشي على 4. Any 4-legged animal, his knees in the front legs. This is all, like Taj al-Aruz, as I said, and Lisan al-Arabi bin Manzur and others. And he says, Al-Imam al-Tahawi, he says, rahimahullah, regarding al-mushkil. Al-mushkil means to reconcile between the problems that arises between hadith conflicting with one another. He says regarding this issue, a person said, it isn't impossible. Because the Prophet of Allah, he told him not to go down like the camel goes down. But he should go with his hand. This is impossible. Then he says, but for verily, he had actually told him that because every 4-legged animal, his rukbata, his knees are in the front ones. Who said that? Imam al-Tahawi, rahimahullah, in al-Mushkil. And Banu Adam, بخلاف ذلك. Son of Adam are different. لأن ركبتهم في أرجلهم لا في أيديهم. Their knees are in their legs, they're not in their hands. So the Prophet ﷺ, he forbade the person who's praying to go onto his knees first, because these are in his, it goes on his knees because it's in his hand, and nothing go differ. That is, letting go in his hand first, which are not in his knees. I mean, he's making a mistake here maybe. So, بِخِلَافِ مَا يَخِرُ الْبَعِيرِ. Different from the camel. The camel, when he goes with his front, is going on his knees. So when we go, we don't go on our knees with our legs, but we go with our hands. So that is what Al-Imam Al-Tahawi had said. Then he says, in Lisan al-Arab, he says, وَرُقْبَةُ الْبَعِيرِ فِي يَدِهِ. And the knee of the ba'ir, the camel, in his hands, in his front ones. وَرُقْبَتَا يَدَيِ الْبَعِيرِ الْمَفْصِلَانِ اللَّذَيْنِ يَلِيَانِ الْبَطْنِ. The ones which are next to his belly. إِذَا بَرَكَ أَمَّا الْمَفْصِلَانِ النَّاتِئَانِ مِنْ خَلْفِ. As for those who are like the knees at the back, the back legs, فَهُمَا الْعَرْقُوبَانِ أو الْعُرْقُوبَانِ. عُرْقُوب. So the ones that are, the back's called what? عُرْقُوب. So you've got rukbah, and urqub. So they're not knees. And this is what the lugha. And then he says, even the companions, they understood that. There is a hadith which is authentic. This is Umar al-Khattab, radiallahu anhu. It is being narrated by Alqamah and al-Aswad. They are the students of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. قال عن عمر رضي الله عنه حفظنا عن عمر في صلاته أنه خر بعد ركوعه على ركبتيه كما يخر البعير ووضع ركبتيه قبل يديه. Look at the understanding of the companion. We have learned from Umar al-Khattab that when in his prayer, that he went down when he went down from his ruku' and Sami Allah liman hamid, he went down to the sujood onto his knees first, just like the camel goes down. And he started with his knees before his hands. So Umar al-Khattab, whether he was doing it all the time or whether he was doing it because he's got something wrong or whatever, but the companions, they said, just like the what? The camel. He said that Umar al-Khattab, we've seen him in his prayer, going down with his knees first, just like the camel, they say. So they know that the camel goes with what? With his knees first. So the Prophet ﷺ said, don't be like the what? The camel. The Prophet ﷺ even asked us not to imitate any other animal. So when the camel, when he goes down, now listen another one from the Shaykh al-Albani. Listen to it, mashallah. He said, when the camel goes down, he will go down with strength. يَبْرُكُ بِقُوَّةٍ. And you know when the camel goes down, I have the land goes like that. And every person who prays, when he goes down on his knees, for verily there will be a lot of noise. He says, especially when the person, he finds in a masjid where the floor is made of wood, and the people who are making the prayer, they make in congregation, they're going to the sujood, you could feel that what? A big bang thrown up. A big bang, which is, the big bang I'm talking about, the big bang of the camel, not the big bang of, okay? You hear about big bang, boom. You've seen them out there, they go on their knees. So he says, the Prophet of Allah, he says, this goes against the salah and the khushu' in the salah. Salah is not to be noise, do, da, do. It's not like that. Salah is calm. Against the khushu' of the salah. The Prophet of Allah, that is why he prohibited us to do this, but to start with the hands, so that he will meet the earth with it, and then he will evade what? The collision between his knees, the harsh collision between his knees and the floor. So it's like suspension. You're sucking, you are absorbing the shock, isn't it? Because you're landing, imagine you're landing. So if you land on your knees, boom! And that's like the camel. Just like the camel, he says. This is why we've been prohibited not to look like the camel. And I'll tell you what. He says, the Shaykh al-Albani rahmatullahi alayhi, he says as well, this will evade him as well, the harm. Subhanallah. Because when you go to your knees, it will avoid him as well, the harm. And Al-Imam Malik rahimahullah, I like what Imam Malik said. This is the sifa which is closer to the khushu', to start with the hands. And this is what Ibn Munir had said. That is to start with the hands, to meet the earth, in order that as well your face goes down properly. And there's no harm to your knees. You know that the masjid of the Prophet of Allah is not carpet. Underneath the carpet is an underlayer. There's no such thing. You know the masjid of the Prophet of Allah? Stones. You try to land the same way that you land on your knees. I guarantee the second prayer you'll be in the hospital. I'm not joking. Let those who start with the knees, put them in a masjid where the carpet is not there, just normal floor. They're not going to go with their knees. Unless they're agile, slowly absorb the shock. But if it is stones, chips, they'll break their knees. They'll have a kneecap. True or not? And that's what the Shaykh Mashur Hafidahullah. Shaykh Mashur told us, imagine your carpet is not carpet, it's stones. Those people who say you start with the knees, I don't think they're going to do that knees. They're going to change their mind straight away. So the shock absorbers with your hand. You land, and you can see that much. When you get old, like me, I have noticed that it is very hard for me to go with my knees. And if you got a belly sticking out about 5-6 inches, oh, it's almost impossible. True or not? Yeah. You'll be big belly. You'll be collapsing. So you have to start shock absorbers with your hands and then your knees. That's how it goes. You're landing. It's a landing. So every time you land, it's a smooth land. Allahu A'lam. Fa'idah, he says, benefit. This hadith indicates it's a must. And I can't find anyone who had declared it's a must obligatory except for Ibn Hazm in al-Muhalla. And they should not leave it. And that is why we say it is a proof to indicate the mistake that the Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, which he had narrated to us, that there is consensus to do both, which is, that is to, no problem to go on the knees or on the hands. Maybe the Shaykh ibn Taymiyyah, when he made his fatwa, he was not looking into the text, because you remember all his fatwa was without any references. It's from his mind, from his memory. So he did not have his books around him to give what he wanted to give. So Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he said that there's a consensus, and this consensus is wrong, because Imam Ibn Hazm, which was before Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he says it's a must that you have to land onto your hand, not onto your knees.